Hello! I hope you guys can hear me. I hope there's not too much of a terrible delay today. And
Hello!
It doesn't look like we have too bad of a delay.
I hope you guys can hear me.
So,
there's not too
how is
much
everyone
of a terrible
doing?
delay today.
We've got, so far,
Hello!
we've got kind of small
we have
groups
too
today,
I hope
but
you guys
that's
can
all
hear
right.
me. So, there's not
How is
too much of a
everyone
terrible
doing?
delay
Details a little bit more. So far,
Hello!
we have two
I hope you guys can hear me. There's not
yeah, so we're back from vacation, and our vacation was awesome. We had a really, yep, echoing. Okay, no more echoing. Sorry about that, guys. I'm too scatterbrained to remember to push mute on my player. That's why it loops. Anyway, so I sing row, row, row your boat while I do that. That would be hilarious. I'm gonna do that next time. So yeah, we're back from our vacation and we had an awesome time, and I'm really excited to share that with you guys. Next week's video, you will get to see a little bit of it, and we still haven't gone through, sorry, I'm still getting comfortable. We still haven't gone through all of our photos that we took while we were on vacation, but I want to put that together and share some of those as well. So yeah, next week, I actually filmed next week's video while we were on vacation. So I filmed it in the Stanley Hotel in room 217, and yeah, it was great. We didn't see any ghosts, unfortunately, although there is a ghost in the video, so you'll have to see about that. I was gonna give it to you guys today, but I realized that I processed it wrong, and I've already uploaded it and everything. But I processed it wrong, so the quality isn't great. So when we're done here, I need to reprocess and upload. So, but I'll have it for you guys tomorrow morning. Did you guys happen to notice what you were looking at when I started the stream? Right here. Did you guys happen to notice this? Does anything look different? So let me tell you about this. These are some sample brushes. So they don't say anything on the handle, but these are brushes that I just put in an order for yesterday. Now, because they're, you know, new sizes and whatever, I want to make sure that there's something that you guys are interested in, and I don't want to be, you know, left with thousands of paintbrushes that nobody wants. So I just ordered 300 of each, just a very small order, but I'll show you guys what these are now. I don't know how long it's gonna take before they're ready. Sometimes my brush guy is like, bam, on top of things, and sometimes not so much. I've had orders take anywhere from 5 months to 2 weeks. So I'm hoping these ones are a little closer to 2 weeks, but let me show you what we got. So right here we have a number 8 and a number 10 round brush. So these are the exact same round brushes as what we already have. This is the number 6 that we've already got. And so these are just two sizes larger. I have been using these with my acrylic a little bit. I don't use a lot of round brushes sometimes, so I haven't had much opportunity to use them with acrylic, but we already know these ones work well. But I've used these with watercolor quite a bit, and they're fabulous because these bristles are so fine. They're the same bristles as the ones that you guys already have, but because they're so fine and these brushes are so much thicker, man, they hold so much paint and water. So they're really, really nice. So we have those. And then I told you guys I was gonna try and get these back when we first got detail brushes. So here they are, my 1/2 inch and my 5/8 inch bright. So again, they're the same as the brights we already have. They're just larger. They're in line with the sizes of the angle brushes that we have. So I've got an angle brush, roughly this size, and then my 1/2 inch and 5/8. So these are gonna be the same size as those angle brushes. If you guys are asking questions, I can't see you right now, but I will jump over there and check it out in just a second. And then we have some larger filberts, and these again are the 1/2 inch and the 5/8 inch, and I've been using them a lot. As you can see, they're nice and stained already. I know they look super pointed, and the ones that we've already had don't, but these really aren't cut any different. I don't have, he sends me a couple of each size, but I don't have them here. The reason they look pointed is because when he puts the sizing into them, these larger ones, they pull them to a nice sharp point. So like when I first got them, and if you get them when you first get yours, they're gonna look more like a cat's tongue with a super tight point. And I asked him about that, and he said it's so that, because the larger ones might have a tendency to kind of puff out. That way, when you put the sizing in and get it to that point, it has a tendency to dry more in a normal shape rather than getting puffy. But see, if I put a little bit of pressure on it, it doesn't have a point. It's really cut the same as the other ones. So just bigger. And then the fan brush you guys have seen me use in the last couple videos is one of my samples from my guy. So we will be having fan brushes. I just ordered these as well. I thought about ordering more than 300 because I'm pretty sure this is one that people are gonna want, that we're gonna wanna keep in stock. But I just did 300 for now. So yay, fan brushes. And this one's just stained. When it comes brand new, I have a larger one here. I just haven't felt the need to use it. This is actually what these bristles looked like when I very first started using it. So it's just that kind of stiff, natural hair. But it's nice, and see how dense they are? They've got a lot of bristles in them. And that, somebody was talking about the bad mascara job. The thickness of the bristles will help prevent that bad mascara job look. So those are our new brushes that are on the way, yay. Oh look, we've got some more people in chat. Let's see. Gretchen's with us. Welcome, Gretchen. And Tan dropped in. Good to see you. And Vince is back. All right. Okay. Oh my gosh, you guys, I really want to tell you right now, but I can't. You know how I am. I like to tease, but it's not because I want to tease you guys. It's just because I'm not good at keeping secrets. My own secrets. If you tell me a secret, I will keep it. But when I have a secret for me, I don't keep them very well. So there's something else super exciting coming up. I can tell you it is in regards to brushes. But that's it. I'm super excited. So, but you guys know that you will hear about it before anybody else does. So don't worry about that. Okay, I can't tell you. Eileen is trying to get me to tell my secrets. She knows I'm weak. Okay. I can tell you that it will go public probably late August. Yeah, probably about late August, maybe early September, but you guys will know before that. That's all. I can't say more. Okay. Tim's not going to be able to sleep now. Tan says, Vince, tell us. Vince probably doesn't know what I'm talking about. He knows what I'm talking about, but he's probably sitting there going, I have no idea what she's talking about. So that's okay. All right, guys, so let's go ahead and get started today. Atra said that's too long. Trust me, I know. I wish it were happening right this minute because I'm way excited. I haven't been this excited since I first released brushes. See, Vince has no idea. When he comes to pick me up, he'll be like, what were you talking about? And I'll tell him and he'll be like, oh yeah, that's right. Okay, Mr. Moon is at home. He's not here at the studio with me anymore. I miss him, but he gets to meow in my face all day, every day when I'm at home, so that's fun. So today I forgot to bring the dice with me. So I just took a coffee mug and I made some numbers on little cards and put them in here. So we have 1 through 10 today. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna tell you, you know, give me something for this or for this or for this, and then I'll have you pick a number 1 through 10, and whoever gets it or is the closest to it without going over I will choose their idea. So I'm gonna pick a number right now, and then I'm gonna ask you guys to tell me what kind of a painting are we gonna do today. Excuse me. So remember to tell me what kind of a painting we're gonna do. You know, a landscape, whatever your idea is, tell me, and then pick a number 1 through 10. And I will put my number here where you guys, let's see, we'll turn it that way. You guys can't see it, but now I will click you over so you can see that there's no funny business going on over here. So go ahead and start giving me some ideas of what kind of painting we should do today. Pick a number 1 through 10, and in just a minute I'll flip it over and we'll see who the winner is. Atra, still life of 6. Anything specific, Atra? Kathy, waterfall 10. Oh, the 20-sided dice? Oh yeah, that exists. I've seen those. You could give someone a concussion rolling those things. They're huge and heavy. A pond with ripples 8 from Deb. Town says an old fence and window and 7. Anyone else? Still life bottle glass from Gretchen with 7. All right, no more suggestions? All right, here we go. I'm gonna flip it over now. And we have 6. And that's Atra, right? Atra said still life at 6, but she didn't say what kind of a still life. So, do I get to choose? Yes, I do. I'm gonna choose because I've had an image in my head for a few days now of a still life that I've been wanting to do, but then I kind of hesitated because I'm like, we just did a big still life kind of along those lines, but this will be the perfect time for it. Okay, so my idea is a really limited color palette. I mean, I don't know if you guys are surprised by that. That's kind of how I roll with the limited color palettes. So I need, let's do another set of numbers. Hang on, let me get a number ready. And then I'll tell you what I'm looking for. Okay. Flip it over. There's our new number. Okay, I need 2 colors. I would prefer if they were contrasting colors. You know, don't pick like yellow and orange, you know, like yellow and purple, or even purple and brown, or green and red. You know, just give me some contrasting colors. And brown can work in place of any other color. Okay, go guys. 2 colors and pick a number. Nobody has numbers or colors to pick? You guys aren't playing? Purple and magenta are pretty close. That's not really contrasting, but we'll leave it. Quinacridone and cad yellow, purple and yellow. Any more? Orange and blue. I almost missed your orange and blue, Atra, sorry. No others? Everybody went over the number. Should I show you? Okay, nobody else is gonna pick. All right, 2. So now what? Because the closest was 4 and we have 2 of them. All right, let's see. What do I do? You're both telling me to pick the other person's. All right, I'll pick one from Kathy's and one from Eileen's. How about that? Okay, so I'm gonna use yellow oxide and Diox purple. Oh, hey, those are upside down for you, aren't they? Okay, yellow oxide and Diox purple. And I've got black and white over here too. Like my Payne's Gray watercolor exploded on the drive to Denver. So if you see like black blue spreading across my hands as we paint today, that's why. It's my Payne's Gray that is still all over everything in my paint bag. Okay, so we're gonna do a still life. We did purple and yellow last time. We did purple and yellow last time, didn't we? I used a lot of purple and yellow. All right. Let's do, okay. One more, hang on. There is, let's do this. Let's do blue and orange. I know that a lot of people see blue and orange and they're like, ugh. Because it's not one of those contrasting colors that just, you know, looks so pleasing side by side like purple and yellow. But blue and orange, they're great. Especially ultramarine blue with the orange. It's gonna be really nice. Yeah, so that's what we're gonna do. Let's sketch a little bit first. So we're gonna do a still life, and I've had a little bit of an idea for a vase of flowers for a while now. One thing, so I know we talk about composition a lot in these things. Well, so far in the last one we did. But composition is really, it's really important. And I think that a lot of times composition is something that you can kind of tell if somebody's new to painting, you know, or somebody who has been doing it for a while, because a lot of times when you're new to painting, you're like, I want to paint a vase of flowers. Boom, it goes smack in the middle. And that's not always necessarily wrong. You know, maybe the vase isn't the focal point. Maybe the focal point is a particular flower in that vase, especially if it really spreads across the entire canvas. You know, it doesn't mean that you should never put something straight in the middle, but if they have a little vase, it's gonna go like right in the center. So, and I like to try and come up with ways to make a composition just a little bit different sometimes. And that's kind of what I wanted to do with this one. And I've been reading a lot about the golden ratio. So has anybody ever heard of the golden ratio? You know, there's a delay, so I could sit here for like 5 minutes waiting for you guys to answer. But for those of you who haven't heard of it, the golden ratio, it's kind of like a nautilus, so like a seashell. And it's just a way of breaking the canvas up into thirds, and then thirds again, and thirds again, and thirds again, and thirds again. And you end up with kind of a spiral. And it's a very classical composition tool that a lot of the old masters used to use. And so I'm not saying that I am trying to use the golden ratio perfectly, because our canvas sizes are not really set up to be split up into that way, but it kind of gets me thinking about composition beyond just rule of thirds. So that's kind of what I want to show you. So if I were to draw, this is not going to be an accurate golden ratio, but essentially once it's done properly, it kind of is like this. And then whatever is in this area is your focal point, but you want to be able to draw the viewer all the way around this area. So without using the actual golden ratio, that's just something that I've kind of been thinking about a little bit more lately. So let's see. A vase of flowers, I'm just gonna draw just a very loose tabletop. It's all crooked and stuff, and I don't care. Do. And I kind of want the focal point to be maybe either the neck of the vase or, you know, maybe a little bit of a flower that's kind of hanging down. But either way, I'm just gonna kind of put my vase right here. Guys, there's one other thing that I see. A 12 by 12, no. The golden ratio, you're essentially taking, you know, a length and partitioning off 0.33333% of it, which would leave a square on the other side. And then that little rectangle that you just made, you're doing the same thing, partitioning off 0.33333% of it, which will leave another square and another one, and you keep doing that, essentially making little squares. And so the like 12 by 16 and things like that, they're not really set up appropriately for a golden ratio. It would be more like, oh, I looked it up before. I can't remember what size or like what dimension was the best for it, but these size of canvases, they don't actually break into squares properly. Like you can break it into a square, but then that rectangle over here isn't gonna get broken into a square in the right way, and so it gets skewed. But like I said, I don't worry about it too much. I just kind of think about if there were, you know, a geometric spiral on my canvas, where could the end of that spiral go, and how would the tail of it move? Yeah, I'm not getting real precise with that. But anyway, one thing I wanted to point out, sometimes when I see this every once in a while, like with a couple of the vases that we've done in the past, sometimes I'll see someone who's newer to painting and they bring the bottom of the vase down and they stop it right where the tabletop would meet the wall. And you have to make sure that you think about things like that. So somebody was asking about perspective, and I know this doesn't seem like perspective, but it is a little bit like perspective. You have to think about that. Your bottle, even if it were sitting pressed up against the wall, you would not see the bottom of it flush with the horizon unless your eye was completely level to it, and you're not going to go up and look at a vase like that. So you need to bring it down. So even if we want to say it's pressed up against the wall, we'd still bring it down just a little bit, right? Because the bottle has thickness. But let's say we want to make sure that it looks like it's sitting right here. So you want to bring the bottom of it down to a place that's interesting. Don't leave it right there on that horizon. It's going to look like a cling of a vase just stuck to the wall. So I'm going to bring it down about like that. And I kind of just want a very simple looking vase. Almost rectangular, I think. And I'm rounding off the corners. I think also a lot of times vases, you know, made out of ceramic or glass or whatever, they're not typically, I mean, you will see it, they're not typically going to have like hard, you know, sharp corners. They will have just a little bit of a rounded shape to them. And so that's what I'm gonna do. Guys, also please forgive me if this is skewed. So my canvas, I never paint flat or draw flat. So my canvas is flat and it is about arm's length away from me. That's the only thing I could do to get it directly under the camera so that you guys could see properly. So my perspective, and it's off to my side. So just forgive me if it's a little crooked, okay? I'm just working out an idea here that I've had, and maybe this will end up turning into a video. Up here, I'm gonna mimic the shape that I have at the bottom, kind of. It's hard at this angle. Is that pretty straight? Let me click over to here. It is like art yoga, it totally is. Hey, I'm kind of impressed. That's not too bad for not being able to see what I'm doing. And I don't really want a very tall neck on here, but I want a narrow one. Let's see. I like to always kind of draw a line in the center first, rather than just starting to draw the outside shape of it. Just kind of draw a line in the center so you know about where it's going to be placed, and then just put the width on either side. I'll just kind of do like that. It kind of looks like a flask, doesn't it? I don't want it to look like a flask. And curve that as well. Let's kind of widen it out here maybe a bit. I think that'll be okay. So now to get that kind of golden ratio thing that I was talking about, I would want to make sure that there are elements to this that take the viewer from whatever's going to be, you know, in this area as our focal point, which I kind of feel like this is maybe not a good place for the focal point. So it's probably going to be a little bit more skewed. But how am I going to take people from this area all the way up through here? And since it's a vase, I think that, you know, we can definitely have like some flowers and stuff that kind of move in wild directions and bring our eye up through there. And then maybe there can be one kind of fallen off here, which will help bring us back to our vase. It's that thing like we talked about, trying to keep your viewer trapped in the painting, looking at one thing and getting led to the next thing. Let me stop for a second and see if we have any other questions. Maybe I should start another channel, huh? It's all art yoga all the time. Oh, you guys are funny. And it's hot in here now. Give me a second. I'm gonna turn down the heater. While I'm gone, I want you guys to think about some other little elements that you might like to see in here. Get some ideas. It doesn't have to be just like boring, here's a vase. It's got some flowers in it. You know, we can have some other stuff in it. So I'll be back in just 2 seconds. Okay. Yeah, the Jane Fonda workout. That's a little different. Okay, did you guys think of anything? I know I wasn't gone for very long, but shout out whatever you guys want to see in this painting. Nothing? Okay, let's get started painting them. So really we're just using black, white, blue, and orange. So let's put out our colors. And the ultramarine blue mixed with the orange, it's gonna give us a really interesting color. It's gonna be really nice. Oh yeah, I was gonna tell you guys my paper plate, because I can't haul my big glass palette over here. I was gonna tell you guys a little bit about what we did for the video for next week. Let's talk about that for a minute before we get started painting, because I know there's a couple of you who have to go, and I want to make sure that you get to hear that. I mean, I'll tell everyone in the viewing party tomorrow too, but you guys are already here. So, do you guys all follow me on Instagram? On Instagram, I don't know, sometime during my vacation, I posted a picture of some little flowery bits, like some sticks and just little pieces of grasses and nature and stuff. And I said that I was going to be doing something fun with it. So, sorry, there's a dog barking. So for my video that I recorded, I actually handmade some paintbrushes with little bits of plants that I found and collected at the Stanley Hotel. So here is just a quick picture of the paintbrushes that I made. So I'll leave that up for a second so you can look at it. And in the video I actually show you how I did it, and it's pretty simple. It was a lot of fun. Like, it's something I had been thinking about for a while now and hadn't tried yet, and so I thought that would be the perfect time to do it. It's on the vacation. But now I really want to do it again. And yes, painting with the topiaries. In fact, this little bit right here, this green, oh, hang on. No, you can't see that. Anyway, the green one in the middle actually came off of the hedge from the hedge maze that they planted at the Stanley Hotel. So, yeah, so I made some little paintbrushes. And then because they're kind of delicate, you know, you know, they were already dead. They're really dry. They're not meant to be used as paintbrushes, so they're very delicate, so I don't have them here with me to show you, but I'll show you guys sometime. But I will show you what I painted with them. And I did use watercolor because I wasn't sure that they would be strong enough to use with acrylic. So first, after I made them, I did a little, let's go over to here so you can see a little bit better. So first this is just like a little tester. I just grabbed some paint and used each brush in both a wet area and a dry area, just to kind of get a feel for how well it worked or didn't work. And then when I was done with that, I did a painting. Now guys, remember that this painting, I did it without any forethought. It's really impossible to plan when you don't know what the brushes are gonna do, if they're even gonna work. They're super hard to control. You know, they're not meant to be paintbrushes, so they're not easily controllable. So I just kind of went with it and just experimented. So I know it's not an amazing painting. Don't feel like, I don't want to paint that, because you don't have to paint that. But I am kind of impressed, you know, doing this just off the top of my head, spur of the moment, with elements that are not paintbrushes and were not intended to be paintbrushes. I kind of like it. So here's my little painting that I did with my handmade paintbrushes. So, yay! Deb, you're funny. So anyway, yeah, this whole thing was done with those handmade paintbrushes that I showed you. And so that's what this video is all gonna be about. I did film it in 237, or 217, sorry, 237 was the room number in the movie The Shining. And Mr. Jane is in the video. So yeah, you guys will get to see Mr. Jane. So I think it's a fun video. I'm excited about it. I'm sure most people who watch my videos will be like, this is dumb. I don't care because I had a good time. That's all that matters. Okay, well, good. I'm glad that you guys like it. Okay, should we... You don't think you could make them tan? Why? I think you could. They were pretty easy to make. And I'm going to show you how to do it. They're not hard to make. Okay, let's start painting. I think this is really how I work a lot of times, guys. You know, I get an idea. I'm like, okay, I want to do a vase. I want to do some flowers. I know I want these colors. And then I start kind of working on my techniques and everything. So like right now, I don't know if I want to, you know, paint the background, paint the vase on top of it, or if I want to, you know, paint around elements. I usually will just kind of start with the first one that pops into my head and then go from there. And if I don't like it, then the next time I'll do it different. So, right now I'm just gonna use my 1/2 inch flat. Is anybody painting with me today, or are you all just watching? Oh, hello, Becky. Glad you could make it. If you're painting with me, let me know. Let me know if you need me to stop or if you have questions, whatever. Okay, so my 1/2 inch flat, I wet it in my jar, and I want my vase to be really dynamic. So I want it to be really dark in some areas and really light in others. So I'm just gonna kind of start with a mid-tone. I'm gonna pull out some ultramarine and some cad orange. And remember, the more ultramarine you put into it, the darker and cooler it's gonna be. The more orange you pull into it, the warmer and lighter it's gonna be. So I really like using contrasting colors for mixtures like that. Let's just start there and see how that goes. Remember to use the tip of your brush when you're trying to draw a line. Oops, sorry, that was loud. Notice I'm not doing it like this because it's hard to control. Remember, it gets whiter the more pressure you put on it, but also then you get that bead of paint, that little ball on the end, the little ball on the edge. Let me kind of zoom it in here a little bit while we do this part. So now there's no room for my palette, just kind of, trust me, I'm mixing up the exact same colors. Okay, so we use the edge instead, and that helps avoid that ball. Does anybody here get really frustrated when they're mixing colors and when they go back to get more, they end up with a different color mixture? I know that there are people like that, but I want to know if you guys are like that. Tell me if you're one of those who, or maybe you mix your color completely before you use it so that you can get the same color every time. Kathy said that she's like that. I have a good friend who's like that too, and it just, I don't understand that. Like, she's so much like that that she actually buys gray paint in the tube so that she can have a consistent color of gray when she's painting. And yeah, I'm just not that way. Let's see. Tan said yes. Eileen said mostly she likes the variations. Becky said it doesn't bother her. Good. Atra doesn't anymore because of my advice. Nice. I love, well, first of all, I don't like to mix all of my colors, you know, into these perfect little piles of a particular color, because when I do that, I feel like I waste a lot of paint. You know, I very well may not end up using all of that, and then what am I going to do with this? It's just going to sit there and it's going to go to waste. But also, I like the variation. I like having, you know, a little bit of color variation in there. Otherwise, I feel like it looks really flat. I mean, if you look at just about anything in nature, in the room where you are, you know, even the wall, you look at the wall, let's say your wall is painted purple. I have a purple wall at my house, but let's say your wall is painted purple and you want to paint a picture of it. Well, you're not going to paint your entire wall a solid color of purple. It's just going to look flat. It's not going to look like your living room wall. Your wall, even if it's purple, has variation in it depending on, you know, is there direct sunlight hitting it? Is it, you know, does it have a shadow being cast on it? Is there something sitting near the wall that's also brightly colored that's maybe reflecting on it and changing it a little bit? So there's a lot of different things that affect what color something is, even in nature, even in grass. You know, you might look at a field of nothing but pristine grass. Well, there's color variations in that as well. If there weren't, it would look like it was just colored in with a crayon. So I don't think that there's anything wrong with color variation, with your colors being a little different every time you go back for more. Speaking of purple walls, so like my movie room, the walls are painted very dark purple. It's like Diox purple. It's very, very dark in there. And depending on the time of day, you know, if the sun is shining and it's coming in, I'm gonna go down to my number 8 bright to do the top of the vase here. When the sun is shining into the room and it hits the wall directly, the purple seems to be very warm, like a red tone purple. But when it's dark out, or just even if the sun just isn't hitting a particular part, it looks like a blue tone purple. So, you know, if I were painting my wall in a picture, and let's say that I was using magenta and ultramarine blue, because that would make a really nice Diox purple, then I would want those little shifts in color from picking up, you know, more Diox, or sorry, more ultramarine in one brush load or more magenta in another brush load. I'm easily gonna get those variations, so I don't have to stop and think about it and mix up another batch of color or anything like that. So if you're not used to, have you guys put out the little rant icon? I just realized I was on a rant. If you're not used to just mixing your colors and letting them be a little bit different as you pick them up, I encourage you to try it. Just see what happens, and I think you'll find that it will immediately make your paintings just a little bit more dynamic. But also what I think is it will make you a little bit more confident in being able to easily and quickly mix colors. Wow, that vase is really, it looks perfectly square from where I'm sitting. I can't see that it's got like a shoulder all poking out on that side. But yeah, give it a try. Try mixing your color just as you use it and see what happens. I did actually, recently I mixed up a whole batch of one particular color. I think I showed you guys, most of you have probably seen it, my portrait that I've been working on. I actually haven't worked on it for a couple of weeks. I need to finish it. I think she's almost done. But I wanted her to look very monochromatic, and I was having, you know, from one day to the next, I was having a hard time mixing the same color, and I didn't want that variation. I always want that variation, but I didn't want it in this. And I was using burnt umber and ultramarine, so I did actually put burnt umber and ultramarine into a bottle and mixed it up, and that's a common color that I use a lot of, so I imagine I'll finish using it. Anyway, Kathy has gray paint in the tube. I've never bought a tube of gray paint before. I haven't. Color alchemy rant, exactly. Well, hello, Emmy. I didn't see you come in. Glad you could make it. Oh, good. I kind of fixed it. It's still a little ugly on that one side. That's okay. Let me zoom you back out a bit. So that's just the underpainting. And so let's just block everything in. It looks like a hot water bottle. I know, it kind of does, doesn't it? I promise I won't leave it looking like a hot water bottle. Let's paint the tabletop because I don't know what I want to do with the wall yet. So we'll just do the tabletop. I'm gonna take my same color mixture. Maybe I'll pull a little bit more blue into it. I'm gonna cool it off just a little bit with a bit more blue. Maybe a hint of white. That was more than a hint of white. There we go. Okay, I think that's good. And I'm gonna very loosely just fill in my tabletop here. I'm not worried about getting a perfectly solid line between the tabletop and the wall, but I do want a fairly crisp line between the tabletop and my bottle, my hot water bottle. And also, I'm still on that rant about pre-mixing your colors. If I want to adjust the, you know, the warmth or the coolness of my color as I go, which I'm definitely going to want to do. That's, you know, one of the great parts about working in a limited color palette is being able to make those adjustments and having it look like you have more colors than you really do on your canvas. But if I wanted to adjust the warmth or the coolness of my color after I've already mixed an entire batch of it, then I have to mix more paint and more paint. I have to keep adding more paint to it. So I just prefer to just do it like this. If you can tell, you might be able to tell a little bit. There might be a little bit of a glare though, so maybe you can't. But right behind my bottle here, there's much more orange in the tabletop, and over here there's much more blue. It's just one of those dynamic things that I was talking about that you get from doing that. So guys, yell at me and tell me what you want to see. We're doing this for you guys. So just because I have an idea and I've started painting doesn't mean I can't change my mind and change direction or, you know, whatever altogether. So give me a shout if there's something in particular you want to see today. I may not see it for just a second while I'm filling this in, but I will see it. Oh, see, got a little blob of orange there. I think that's kind of fun. And remember, we talked about value. Did we talk about value in our last live painting, or was it in a viewing party? Anyway, we've talked about value quite a bit. One of the other reasons it doesn't matter to me if my colors aren't mixed properly and if things like that happen is because as long as you have your values right, then the actual color doesn't matter. So, you know, if I'm mixing black and white, clearly I want to be a little bit more careful because those are my values. But with this blue and orange, there's a little bit of a value difference between the blue and orange, but for the most part, mixing them together is going to cause very little value shift. So just another example of why it's okay if your colors are a little different. I think maybe let's see, hang on. Paint a flower over that corner and it'll be perfect. Yeah, see, you can do little things like that to kind of break it up and you know, if you're painting a vase and you're like, that looks like a hot water bottle. Well, just paint out one of the corners. And now it doesn't. Eyes, ears, and whiskers behind me. Oh, I thought maybe you could see something that, I don't know. I haven't slept real well since we got back from vacation. I'm just pulling some white in. I've still got the blue and yellow or orange, whatever color, on my brush. I haven't been sleeping very well since we got back from vacation because Olaf, you know, when dogs are boarded, sometimes they get nervous. They don't really understand what's going on. So he's had a nervous belly. So the jerk has been keeping me awake at night. So I haven't been sleeping real great since I got home. So if I seem like I have no idea what I'm talking about, that's why. That is a really nice gray, isn't it? That's like a really pretty, kind of a natural gray color. Love that. And I think that's what I'm gonna do on the wall. I'm just gonna keep a bit of this orange blue mixture on my brush, just a tiny bit. And I'm gonna pick up white because I really like that. And sometimes it'll be a little bit whiter, a little bit more on the white side. And as the white starts to wear off and I get farther down in my brush and I put a little bit heavier pressure, I'll start getting some of that blue and orange. And I really like that kind of mottled effect. Can you guys see, you notice how my color keeps getting a little bit darker and then lighter, and I haven't even until now gotten more paint? Remember how we're always talking about brush pressure? So that's brush pressure there. That's another thing that brush pressure can do. So I've got that blue and orange on here, pretty much down to the ferrule because I'm a mess, and I just picked up a little bit of white. Well, the reason that looks almost pure white is because all the pressure I'm putting is just the tip of my brush, just a little bit. As that white starts to wear off and I need more paint, I can put a little heavier pressure on my brush. See how much darker that is? And then I go back up onto the tiptoe of my brush to just kind of streak it into there. Need a little more there. Heavy pressure, laid that down. Back up onto the tiptoe to dust it in. I know it can sometimes be really hard, you know, for me to explain to you guys, or to not explain to you, but to help you when you've got problems, because I can't see exactly what it is that you're doing, you know. But I think that that's something that a lot of people struggle with. You know, they load up their brush, they get a ton of paint on their brush, and then they go right to their canvas with flat pressure, you know, heavy pressure, back and forth. And then you just kind of take all of that paint and you just pretty much scrubbed it into the entire canvas. So don't think about the length of your bristles as being, you don't have to lay the entire length of your bristles on the canvas to spread the paint. That's very important. And I think that a lot of people think that. So here's kind of how I like to think of my brush. And the reason that I like my brushes a little bit longer, which is why, you know, like my filberts are quite long, my rounds are a little bit longer than normal, and all of my brights and flats are very, very long. Because when I load it up, the entire length is filled with paint. So think of it like a pen, like a ballpoint pen, right? You've got your pen and the entire pen is full of ink, but we're not laying it down and rolling it across the paper to try and use all of that ink at once, right? We're using the very end of it and just letting a little bit of that ink come out. Your paintbrush is the same thing. That's exactly how I'm using this paintbrush. So the bristles are really like a reservoir. That's like the inside of the pen, okay? It's loaded up with paint here. I get just a little bit on the end. So I don't have to press this flat to get all of that paint out at once. I only need just a little bit at a time. So if I use that light pressure, see, just back and forth, because I was talking, this is dry now. And as soon as there's not enough paint coming out, I can push a little bit harder for a second and then move that paint around. A little bit harder and move that paint around again. So I hope that that helps somebody. And I know that a lot of people struggle with that, and I think a lot of people kind of feel like, you know, they feel bad about themselves, like, I shouldn't struggle with that. Nobody else seems to struggle with that, or, you know, whatever. But everybody's hand moves differently, and everybody's brain works a little bit differently. And so unless you have somebody who specifically addresses exactly what it is that you're doing, you may struggle with it. And there's nothing wrong with that. Don't feel bad about struggling with anything. We all struggle with things. I have things that I struggle with for sure. So let me see, did that help anybody? Talking about it kind of like a pen. Okay. We just got some ideas getting thrown around out there, which is great. Pull this down a bit. Again, just that little bit of pressure on the tip of the brush. See how much my brush is bending? Not very much. I don't have any need to wring out all of the paint on this brush yet, because I'm still getting a lot of that paint off and moving it around from the tip. So when you see me painting like this, as you see my paint get darker, that should tell you, oh, now she's starting to put a little bit more pressure on it to get some of that reserve paint out. A little bit more, spread it around with the tiptoe. And again, can you guys, you probably can't, yeah, you can tell a little bit. I've got some color variation in this gray. Even see, it's so warm right here. There's quite a bit of orange. And right here, it's very, very blue. And yeah, I really like that. I feel like I'm talking your ears off today. Am I talking your ears off? Hopefully it's things that you at least want to hear. Let me just cut around this base real quick, fill in this corner down here. And I see a little bit of activity in the chat room. We'll go see what's going on. And the more you do things like this, you know, when you first are starting, you have to think about that. You know, if that's something new to you, talking about using the tip of your brush and using the rest of it as reserve paint, if that's new to you, excuse me, then you might have to think about it when you go to do your next painting. You'll be really focused on how much pressure you're putting on the tip of your brush, and, you know, you'll have to think about, oh, I've got to put a little bit more pressure on it to get some more paint. But the more you do it, the more second nature it will become, and pretty soon you won't have to think about it. It'll just automatically happen. And how do I know that? Because it's pretty automatic for me. It just happens. I just know, oh, I'm running out of paint. Push a little harder, get a little bit more out. Okay, let's see what you guys are saying. We have a couple of ideas going on. We will have to see how far we can get there. Let's see. Deb has lazy brush syndrome. Yeah, so if you are holding your brush more flat like this to try and cover a background, you have very little range of motion there. That's really all you can do. Or like that, you're not going to get very far. So, and I typically stand to paint, but yeah, it's almost like it won't stand up on its own, but it's almost like it's standing. So it's about a 90 degree to the canvas, no matter how I'm painting. I think you get a lot more range of motion that way. Oh, you guys are so sweet. I only talk because you guys tell me you love hearing me talk. That's not actually true, but I talk a lot anyway. Okay, let's finish this background. I love backgrounds like this. So this is really, really close to my my old smoky background video. You guys remember that one? That's pretty much what I'm doing here. This table is so little for me to sit at and paint. So I'm just gonna kind of do this quickly though. I'm doing the exact same thing I just demonstrated to you. We'll just get this background filled in real quick so we can get, oh, Aksha's never seen that one? Oh, I love that technique. When I was very first learning how to paint, because I've always been a blender, blend, 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 until things are just, you know, blended into oblivion. I'm trying really hard not to be so much of a blender anymore. But when I was first learning how to paint, I did a lot of blending, and I would just pick some colors and just work on blending a background. And that's kind of where my smoky background came from, was I thought it was really cool that I could blend these colors together in the background, but still kind of like retain the difference in the colors, even though they were smoothly blended. And it was just really, really pleasing to me. So I used that technique constantly. I don't do it quite as much as I used to now, but whenever I do, I'm like, man, I forgot about that. That's really fun. I should do that more often. So I think I'm kind of in a smoky background mode right now, because I've been doing it a little bit more lately. That's kind of the way we did the sky in the campfire. And hopefully you guys all come to the viewing party tomorrow for the campfire, because I know we're gonna have lots of questions, lots of demos, probably lots of rants, you know, with between the fan brush, and I got so many people saying, I can't do clouds again. And how many times in the video did I say, these aren't clouds? Don't think of them as clouds. Just make shapes. And then still a million people, I will never be able to do clouds. Well, I don't know why you were trying to do clouds in a painting where I said, these aren't clouds, don't make clouds, but that's okay. Anyway, we'll be doing lots of demos tomorrow. I think I'm gonna get my smaller brush for that one. Where is it? There it is, right in front of me. Yeah, Deb says that the little hint of orange creates a rich texture. It really does. You know, sometimes, like, you guys know me, I like black and white. And I'm not one of those people who feels like you should never use Mars Black, or, you know, that you should never use tube black paint at all. But sometimes when you're doing black and white, sometimes I find that it's just not what I want to see. I don't want to see a perfectly neutral black and white area. I want to see little hints of something warmer, little hints of something cooler. And so yeah, it's fun to make chromatic blacks and grays, which is really what we're kind of doing here. Because like Deb said, when you can see a little hint of that orange, sometimes it's really unexpected and it can be really pleasing. So try and look beyond, you know, what you think you see. If you're painting a picture and something looks gray or black and white, try something chromatic. Even if you mix it and you're like, well, that just looks exactly like black or exactly like gray. But it might not once you get in there and start using it, especially if you mix as you go. Yeah, so last month when we did this, our rant was really about like composition. And I think our rant this time is about color mixing. Don't be afraid to mix as you go. Never be afraid to mix as you go. We are almost done with this background area. And then let's see if I can shape up my vase a little bit better here. So I just realized I don't like where I put my vase. I feel like it's too far away from the edge of the canvas. I don't know, maybe it's okay. I don't know. It's too late now, but so, you know, there's a huge number of you guys, because I see posts in the groups and I respond to posts in the groups all the time about this exact same thing, where you guys are like, oh, I was working on this painting and everything was great and now I messed it up and, you know, whatever. And you're all disheartened. But I think that you guys have learned a little bit of a bad lesson from watching painting tutorials. I'm not saying don't watch my videos. That is not what I'm saying. But what I am saying is you get the idea that what you see in the video is how I paint, or how another artist paints, or how artists should paint, or how you should paint. You see me start with a blank canvas, and you hear me make decisions sometimes as I go, and I think that a lot of times, even though I've told you that that's not the first time I've ever painted that, you still have this idea that since you just watched me start to finish a painting, that you should be able to start to finish a painting, and that if you mess up at some point in that painting, it's just over. And that's not the case at all. You know, I mean, unfortunately, I can't show you everything that went into it beforehand, because you wouldn't watch that. You might watch it once out of curiosity, but each week you wouldn't watch me develop, start, destroy, start, destroy, start, destroy, over and over and over and over and over again until I'm like, oh, okay, this is what I want. Then run through it again, start to finish, and then actually paint it for you guys. So, you know, if I'm painting this and I'm like, oh, I don't like where I placed that vase, why do I need to either fix it, scrap it, or deal with it? Those are not the only three options. So what I would do is I'd say, yeah, that vase, I don't really like the placement of that vase, but right now it doesn't matter. I'm gonna go ahead and work out my other ideas, my other elements that I have for this painting, and I'm just gonna finish this painting. Then when I'm done with it, I'm gonna sit there and I'm gonna look at it and I'm gonna say, I like this, I like this, I don't like this, I don't like this, I think I might like this better. And I'm gonna take all of those things and guess what? I'm gonna do it again. I'm gonna start it again. So like all of you guys who come to me and you know, you have a photo and you're like, I really wanna paint this photo, just start painting it, you know? And don't settle just because you don't like something. Don't settle or give up. Just go, oh, okay, I don't like that part. Let's finish it. And then decide what you don't like about it, how you're gonna fix it, and do it again. There's nothing wrong with that. I know that there's a lot of people who are like, nope, first time. If it doesn't come out right the first time, then I'm just frustrated and I don't want to do it again, you're not going to learn much that way. All you're learning that way is how to stop. You know, you're learning, oh, I messed up. Well, I guess I'm done with that one. Well, now you will never learn how to fix whatever it was that you just didn't like. Yeah, sorry guys, very passionate about this. Let's see. Oh yeah, Deb really likes adding phthalo blue to black and white. Yeah, adding a little bit of phthalo blue to either black or burnt umber gives you some really beautiful, deep, dark jewel tones. I really love phthalo blue for mixing. And there's some rants. Eileen would watch if I just slash some canvas. You might get to see that someday. Good, Deb. I'm glad you needed to hear that, because I think that that's a super important thing, you guys. You have to understand that what you're seeing in videos, in tutorials, the artists who make tutorials, we have a balancing act, okay? Not only do we have to come up with a painting that you guys are gonna like, we have to be able to tell you how to do that. And in the same time, we have to be to the point where we can do it start to finish without too many mistakes that can't just be corrected, you know? And to get to that, there's a lot of work that goes into that in the first place. You know, I've done it a couple of times, but not very often, you know, where I just turn on the camera, I'm like, all right, I'm just gonna start recording and see what happens. And all of the ones that I have done that with, trust me when I say that I look at it and I'm like, man, I really wish that I would have had some time, because if I were to do this again, I would change this part, I'd move this here, I'd do this. But that's always my mindset is, okay, well, the next time I'm gonna do it like this. It's not, oh, I messed up, I'm done. You know, I mean, maybe after 50 or 60 goes at something, but yeah, my mindset is always like, oh, I don't like that. Okay, next time, I think I'm gonna move that over to this area. And then I do it again. So, do it again, over and over and over. Do it over and over. That's how you're gonna learn the most, the fastest. Yes, Tan says, so a live tutorial is the most realistic. Well, especially today because, well, with these, because these aren't really tutorials, but yeah, so you guys do get to see a lot of my development process here. I do hope that, because I'm not really comfortable doing live tutorials, but I am hoping that, you know, maybe after we kind of mess around here a bit for a while, that maybe someday I'll be able to, you know, do a live one. So it's possible that next month or in 2 months or in 6 months or whatever, that one of these live events that I do with you guys will be an actual planned out painting. I was actually kind of hoping for that this week, but then, you know, vacation and a dog who refuses to let me sleep said, no, you won't be doing that today. So, okay. Yep, Becky said it. You have to fall down and skin your knees. It's all part of learning. It's so true. So, so true. I mean, think about, okay, this is kind of a stretch and an analogy, but it's really the exact same thing, you guys. So if you, that's a little bit hot. Let me turn the color down on this real quick. Think about when, you know, when you're a little baby or, you know, your own kids. If while learning to walk, the very first time that you fell down, you were like, ah, well, that hurt. I'm not doing that anymore. Nope, I'll just get carried forever. Think about how stunted, like, growth and learning and everything in your whole life would be just because you fell down while you were learning how to walk and decided, nope, I already failed at it. I'm not doing it again. It's the exact same thing in painting. If you don't figure out how to overcome hurdles, how to overcome challenges, then you're not gonna learn and grow. And if you just give up because you made a mistake on something, you're like, no, on to the next one, then you're never gonna learn. You don't learn by doing things right. You learn by doing things wrong. And I mean, that might sound silly, but that's fact. You don't actually learn how to do things right. You learn how not to do them. And that just kind of narrows it down. You're like, oh, that's not how I do this. And that's not how I do this. So let's try it this way. Oh, okay, that must be the right way to do it, because the other ways were wrong. But anyway, I'll stop ranting at you for a minute because I need a drink. But let's go back to our painting. I'm really liking this background. And I'm really digging these colors together. I really hope that soon, one of the ideas that we work on in one of these videos can end up being like an actual tutorial. That would be really fun. Maybe this one. Oh, I also wanted to talk to you guys. Here, let me just talk to you all day instead of painting for you. I also wanted to talk to you guys. There was the poll that we did in Patreon a few weeks ago where I'm like, tell me what you want to paint and we'll paint it. And, you know, and then of course I jumped the gun and painted the tornado because I was like, heck yes, I want to paint a tornado. So I just ran with that one. So the one that won, you guys, there are things that I'm like, oh, I'll never be able to paint that. Because I don't listen to my own advice. Of course not, right? No, I am. But the one that won the poll, oh my gosh, you guys, you're really challenging me. Like one of those sandstone canyons in Utah done with a palette knife. I have been working on that on and off for a couple of weeks now, and I am no closer to having anything that you would ever even want to look at, let alone paint. So I can't remember who suggested that one. If you're here, I'm not ignoring your request. If you voted for that one, I'm not ignoring your request. That is not one that I'm going to get to be able to just, you know, knock out pretty quick. Everything I just ranted at you about, there will be a lot of that. So please know that I am still working on it. I haven't given up on it yet. But yeah, so the sandstone canyon with the palette knife, pushing the limits of my ability here. Let me just see these comments here real quick. Eileen says getting carried around sounds good right about now. Okay, let's go back to it. But yeah, so anyway, please don't think that I am ignoring that one. I'm not saying that it's actually going to happen, but you know, because if I can't get something put together that I'm happy with and that I think you would be happy with, I can't do it. And right now I am about as far away from being happy with anything I've even considered on that. And you guys would look at it and go, I don't think that's what we asked for. You would. Okay, let's... Let's just work on the vase for a minute. I am actually going to use... I'm going to use my new 1/2 inch Bright. I actually have not used this one with... Yeah, I did. I did use it with acrylic. I did, yeah. Okay. These brushes are so luxurious, you guys. I know that sounds really stupid to say that a brush is luxurious, but it really is. I love it. Okay, so some blue and some orange. And look at how long the bristles are. Oh, I love them. And, oops, I need more white. Hey, if you're like me and you put your brush in your mouth a lot, do me a favor and don't bite it. Don't bite it when you put it in your mouth, because when you bite it, you break through the paint. And when you break through the paint, you expose the wood. And when you expose the wood, water gets in there. And you guys know the rest of that story. So if you put your brush in your mouth, don't bite it. Let's zoom you in here just a little bit. I used to be mostly in junior high when I was a kid. I used to be a pen biter. So you could always tell my pen because it was totally chewed up. But please don't do that with paintbrushes. So all I'm doing is just kind of starting. I don't really know how I want to highlight this or anything. I mostly just picked up a little white on one side. So the whole brush is loaded with the blue-orange mixture. I picked up a little white on one side. See, there's no white on the other side. And I like to do that sometimes because then I can come in here and I can get some white. And if it's too much, I just flip it over to the other side. And I can, you know, soften it, fuzz it, pull it out, whatever. Just change it. Kind of like having did you ever have those markers when you were a kid that had like one color on one end and then you take off the cap and flip it over and the other end has another color? So see again, white on one side, not on the other. So it's kind of like the same thing, just a little double load. It's kind of pop, just running a little white right there. Here's a thing. If we want to make the neck of that look curved, I know that looks awful, it really does. But if this is curved, so see my sides here are kind of curved, they're totally wonky. We're gonna call this a handmade vase, okay? That's why it looks all screwy. So I've got this kind of dips in. If I just make my white highlight straight up and down here, it's gonna flatten it out. It's gonna almost look like maybe the sides kind of do that, but then it's flat right here. So you want to make sure that it kind of mimics the edge. So that's why I started there and kind of pulled it in and back around a little bit. And that's just way out of control there. I got way out of control with it, but that's essentially what's happening there. So that got a little crazy with the white. But again, like we always talk about layers, you know, doing things in layers. Not concerned. Remember how like whenever we do rocks or whatever, I'm like, it doesn't matter. If you don't like that layer, just leave it alone. Come back to it later. That's exactly what I'm doing here. I'm just saying, generally, I'm probably gonna want it lighter in this area. Generally, I'm probably gonna want it, let's see, darker in this area. And that's really all I'm doing right now. Because as I work the layers, I can come back and put another color over it, partially cover it, completely cover it, change it a little, and every layer is gonna build toward the final look. So it doesn't matter if you don't like a layer. There's no reason to go, let's see, let's go like this, let's go. And that just like totally threw everything off because it's also curved. There's no reason to stop and go, uh-oh, I hate that. I gotta try and cover it up or blend it in or smooth it out or whatever. I don't really care. I'm just gonna leave it. Because if I am too worried about coming back and filling or fixing every little speck that I don't like right now, I don't like any of this. So if I tried to fix it, I would just end up with a big blurred out blob. So for now, I don't care. I don't care if there's an ugly spot. I don't care if something's under blended or over blended or anything. I'm just getting the idea of the values that I want everywhere. Just a little bit more water. I'm going to take some blue down around this bottom edge because I feel like it would be much darker down here at the bottom, but I don't want to tone it out with black. I want it to still have a little bit of, you know, life in the colors. I'm actually really liking this, guys, and these colors are great. Thanks for suggesting, Amatra. Maybe I will work on this and maybe we can end up doing this for like our first actual full tutorial, unless you guys are bored of it because you've already seen half of it, which I can't say I blame you. I kind of feel like I'm talking to myself right now because I can't see you guys. So I'm like sitting here thinking, you probably sound really dumb talking to yourself. See, I think that's why I don't think I could do live, because I'd be too worried about, am I missing something? Are you guys talking to me? Are you bored? I'm always worried that you guys are bored because I don't have any, you know, audio feedback. So I'm gonna come say hi to you for a second and see if you guys have any questions. Oh, Kathy left and I missed her. Drive safe, Kathy, if you're still here. Deb has so much pain on her shoulders from putting her brush in her mouth and turning her head. I don't have that, actually. Bic pen caps were the best. Yes, they were, because that plastic was just a little bit chewy and it didn't like fracture in your mouth. It was taking me back to junior high here. Ooh, Deb, man, we would be such good friends. Deb says, this reminds me of things I used to find in abandoned buildings in ghost towns. Tin cans, glass bottles, often left behind on tables that didn't fit in wagons when the owners left. That is beautiful. I would absolutely love to come across something like that. I love ghost towns. I love abandoned buildings. I love, you know, just the mystery that comes with wondering about people from, you know, from history. Yeah, I would love to go do that sometime. It really is a good rusty iron color, isn't it? Oh, good. Tan's not bored. Thanks, Tan. But as you can see here, remember I said I wasn't worried about anything that was happening in my vase, even all the things that I hated, because I knew that they would change as we went. So already this of white that I put there is looking better. And this whole neck area is horrific. It's terrible. And I'm not worried about it. It's fine. But, you know, if you notice here, as I started adding the mixture where we had a lot of white there, it almost creates a glaze. Just because the ultramarine is pretty transparent. The cadmium orange isn't, because I am using the heavy body, so it's pretty opaque. But that little bit of ultramarine in there is kind of increasing the transparency, and so the white gets to shine through a little bit, so it helps us to build value and variation. And you really can't get that from laying down just bam, just a single layer. Fill it all in, and you know, layers are, I think a lot of people want to skip over doing layers because it seems boring. You know, they're just like, I just want to do it in one shot. You can, but it's not gonna have the same life, I think, as layers. I love layers. Love layers. Okay. Okay, good. So I'm gonna stick with my 1/2 inch bright. I keep wanting to say 1/2 inch flat, but it's not. It's my bright. And because, like, one of the things about this brush that is going to be different from the 1/2 inch flat, because, you know, they're both, I mean, the same width. They're almost the same length. I think actually the Bright is a little bit longer. And so I know I'm gonna have a lot of people saying, well, what's the difference? Well, the difference is this one is very stiff, very, very stiff. So it's really gonna get down into that texture. This one is much, much softer. It's gonna give me a really sharp, can you see how sharp that edge is? I mean, it's just, I can get like a chisel, just a completely thin line with this brush. So this brush is really good for detail work, but because it's softer, it's also not going to cover everything below it. See how those little pokes of white are still showing there because of the softness of the brush. So sometimes you want that, and I've actually been wanting this brush for a long time. There have been several videos where I was like, well, I guess I'll just use my 1/2 inch flat because I don't have anything else. I'd rather use, you know, like my Bright, but my Bright is too small, you know, because all I had was a number 8. So now I'm really excited about this. And I'm still layering colors almost haphazardly. There's no planning. You know that sometimes I think you guys think that I've got every brush stroke planned out and I know exactly what I'm doing, you know, and the vast majority of the time that is not the case. It's just like, you know, I think I'm gonna pick up some white now. Let's change it. Okay, well, I didn't like what that white did, so let's change it back. Or, okay, I like what that white did, let's keep going. And that's kind of where I am right now. So I picked up that little bit of white and really started just kind of pulling it in these really short, again, no pressure. Can you see the pressure? My brush is not flat. I started doing that and I liked that. It kind of looks like a reflection. So I decided to keep that going. A little bit of extra pressure there to get some of that extra white. And now to me, it kind of looks like I'm starting to get a really nice, almost like a hammered look on this. So, you know, we've got, you know, when a glaze is kind of uneven and some parts of it catch light and some parts of it don't. I feel like that's kind of what I'm getting there and I'm enjoying that. So I'm just gonna keep going with it. And that does happen when I'm filming videos sometimes. You know, I'll change my mind from what I practiced. So again, I've got my brown orange on both sides and just a little bit of white at the top. If that's too much white, if I don't want to deposit that much white, then I'm going to use this side that doesn't have the white on it. I'm still going to get a little bit of it. So watch, because I don't want a big ball of white on this side, right? So I'm going to use the side that doesn't have the white on it and see, I got a bit of it, but not as much as if I would have gone like that. So I'm going to keep going. And that's still just a little bit too much white, but what did I tell you before? Don't worry about it. Do not try to correct things you don't like. You know, especially while you're doing highlights and stuff like this, don't stop. Don't stop and go and try and correct something you're perceiving as a mistake. Just leave it. It doesn't matter. That's the white from the other side of my brush. I told you there was quite a bit. I'm gonna put a little bit of extra pressure on that. There we go. A little bit more white there. Okay. Let's get some more of that blue orange. I think I'm gonna go just a little heavier on the side of orange for this next part. But same thing, the same short little brush stroke, light pressure. This is the pressure that I'm doing. Let's see, how can I, there. Can you see that? See how little my brush is bending? But that's what I'm doing here. And just, my brush strokes are about 1 inch long. I'm just kind of doing them fast. Maybe I'll put a little more pressure there to get down into that texture and get rid of that bright white. But because I didn't pick up a big ball of paint, right? See how smooth my brush is? Because I didn't come in and pick up that. That would just cover everything here. I'm not into covering. It's very smooth. See? Very, very smooth. That is how I'm able to get that layered effect, even though I'm going over and over and over the same areas. See, that white is still there? And it's starting to really look glazed. I'm really starting to enjoy how this is looking. Let's get a little bit more blue. I'm gonna keep just a hint of orange in it because there we go. I don't want the blue to be too bright and kind of take over. I'm gonna do the same thing, just make sure that I keep that shadow down in this area. So even with flat pressure, it's still not covering everything because of the softness of the brush. It's not getting down into the texture as far as like my 1/2 inch flat would. So what are you guys thinking? Are you learning something today? Is this all just kind of old stuff that we always talk about? Sometimes I feel like I do the same things, or I talk about the same concepts and I'm like, this has to be boring. We just did this. So, but I know not everybody watches every video. And I know that even if you do watch every video, you may not pick up a concept in one video for some reason, you know, something about where you are that day or what it is that you're doing while you're watching. You may not pick up a concept. Or maybe I explain it different one day in one video, and in the next video I feel like I'm being really redundant, but I end up explaining it completely different, and that's the day that you have that light bulb moment, just because I said it different. But I'm not always positive about that. Okay, here's another thing. Remember I said that I had no ideas coming into this vase about like where my highlights and shadows were gonna go. I was just starting. I like to do that. I just kind of start and I see what happens. I didn't try and force and say, okay, well, it's gonna be lighter right here and it's gonna be darker over here, and then the shadow's gonna move this way and the highlight's gonna move this way. I didn't do any of that. But as I started, because you know, clearly it's probably gonna be darker on the bottom, right? Than at the top. I started to see the shadow, how it kind of bends around. And then, you know, this side is obviously a little bit lighter, so I'm kind of going with that. And that's another thing that I wanna jump on my little soapbox and rant at you about. We get ideas. Sometimes, you know, everybody does. We all get ideas about what we're gonna paint. We have this amazing idea and we wanna paint it. And so we jump in headlong, and something, because things just happen while you paint, you know? Things just pop out, and all of a sudden it looks like, you know, this vase that you were working on all of a sudden looks like a different kind of vase or whatever. And I know that there's a lot of you who get really frustrated when it doesn't matter if your painting looks good. It's not what you had in mind. And so therefore it's ruined. It's over. It doesn't matter how much everybody else likes it. It's not what you had in mind. And so you hate it. I'm here to tell you right now, guys, you gotta get over that. Let it go. The only time I really sit down to paint with a very solid idea of what I'm gonna do is when I'm recording a video for you and I've already practiced it 1,000 times. And that's because really I have to, right? Let's take care of this. It's so ugly up here. I have to have that solid idea. If I don't, I can't very well teach you, kind of like right now, I can't very well teach you what I'm doing if I don't know what I'm doing, if I don't have a solid plan. So I realize the irony in that statement, but that's really the only time I sit down to paint with a solid idea. So this, for example, remember I said, oh, I have a idea for a still life that I've been wanting to do. So I'm going to kind of focus on that, kind of move in that direction with this today. This, so far, looks nothing like my idea that I had. But I don't care. Because the thing is I always use ideas as a starting point. I will never sit down to an idea and be so like laser focused on that if that doesn't come out, if that's not what I get, it's over. You know, an idea is just that. It's an idea. And something else very well may come of it. And you have to be open to that. I like to just sit down with a vague idea and see where it goes. And yeah, next to never does it turn out like the idea that I had. It doesn't. But I'm 100% okay with that. Because sometimes there's something else in there that needs to come out, you know? There's another painting that wants to be seen. And maybe your idea is just the catalyst that other painting needs to come out. Just kind of kicking and pushing and messing around with these highlights. Really, I'm just kind of throwing things at the wall here with the highlights to see what sticks. If I see something that I like, then I might focus on that and go, oh, okay, well, I like that. Let's see if I can do it. And right now I'm kind of liking this. It's these short little, they're almost like a C or something. I'm almost doing like, let's see, you can't see that. I'm almost kind of doing like that. See how it's arced just a little bit? That's kind of what I'm doing. Just these really short little, very, very, very little pressure, almost no pressure. Kind of pull them down in a little bit of a line, but not too much of a line. I don't want it to look like a line, so every once in a while I'll kind of break off of it and move into another direction. But what do you think? Is that starting to look okay? I think it's looking all right. Let's see what happens. I want to pull a little bit of a highlight across the top here, but I don't know how that's going to look just yet. Might be awful. That's okay. We can cover it up if it is. But let's go with it and see what happens. A little bit of a lighter color up on top of the bottle there. This whole corner is just kind of dead. Almost start over on that. Let's see. I gotta look at it in my... Oh man, there's so much glare on it. I'm sorry, you guys. It's these skylights. Okay, let's see. We have some comments. Atra is looking forward to trying this. Yes. Oh, thanks, Eileen. She said, seeing you paint here teaches me even more than in the videos. That means a lot to me. Thank you. Nice. Deb's learned how to correct at least 4 things in the past 20 minutes. Oh, thank you, Becky. You're so sweet. Yep. Yep, you have to have a plan when you're actually teaching, but other than that, man, let planning go. Just see what happens. Oh, did it work, Deb? She said that the highlight was magical and suddenly there's a curve there. I hope so. I'm having a really hard time seeing it because you know, it's flat, and I don't ever paint flat. Not that there's anything wrong with that. I know a lot of you do, and I want you guys all to know that just because I say I don't do that and that it's hard for me to do that, it doesn't mean that you're wrong if that's how you do it. That's perfectly okay. You can do that. Some people are comfortable sitting, standing, flat, on an easel, held in their hand, on their lap, whatever. You do however it's comfortable for you, whatever works for you. Just because it doesn't work for me doesn't mean it's wrong for you. See, I felt like that spot there on the shoulder, it was kind of a dead spot, and it was almost like blending in with the background. So I'm gonna bring some of that dark back just lightly. Some of that white is still gonna poke through, but I'm doing that same kind of little C. I think we did the same brush stroke, this little on the vase still life that we did with the pink flowers in it. I think I remember doing that. You just have to be careful and watch for patterns. I started to get some patterns there. I had like line, line, line. Excuse me. So you have to be careful of things like that, and when you start to see them, break them up immediately. You don't want patterns, because the human eye, the tiniest speck of white, very, very little, the human eye is tuned to patterns. We look for patterns, whether we know it or not. And I'm sure it's some kind of a survival thing, you know, but if you have patterns in your painting from your paintbrushes or your brush strokes, something that is very, you know, geometric or patterned. Very patterned. If you have something that's very patterned, it will become the focal point. Man, my brain is not turned on today. What's the word that I'm looking for? It will become the subject of your painting. Everybody's eye will go straight to that pattern, because that's what your brain is trained to do. That's how the human mind works. So you do need to be really wary that you're not creating patterns. I mean, you know, unless a pattern is what you're looking for, but like in something like this with the reflection, I don't want a pattern here. Okay, I'm gonna actually give my vase a little bit of a rest. Except I just want to finish covering up that junk on the on the neck. I really hated that part, but I did not drop everything and go fix it, did I? Nope. Ooh, that actually kind of looks good right there. Just gonna break up that line just a little bit. That might be okay. In fact, I'm just gonna come in here and get the tiniest. Can you see how much white I picked up there? Like almost none. I'm just gonna put it right there. Maybe just one more just like that. Let's do that. I think I'm about done with my vase actually. Just a few little pokes of almost pure white, but there's like no paint. I'm picking up almost no paint. That might be too much for here. I think it's okay. And I'll come back to my vase later and decide if I want to make any adjustments, if I can ever get away from it in the first place. I kind of want a little pop right there. Okay, I have to be done with my vase for a minute. Looks like we have quite a few comments. Let's go see. Now, as you can tell, the bottom of our vase looks, and if I had more time, if I had done a little bit more planning on it, because I feel like my vase looks really nice kind of up here, but it also looks very, like you can't really tell what shape this is. Like, is it square or is it a big round cylinder? I kind of wanted it to look like a square one that's maybe only about that deep, but you can't tell that because of the angle on here. So if I were to do this again, which I kind of want to, I would pull right here, pull this corner up just a little bit, make the shoulder over here a little bit fatter to kind of look like it's turned to the side, just that tiny bit. It will be enough to say that this base has some thickness. It is square and it's narrow. So that's what I'll do later. Let's see. Oh, Deb has the tilt top table. Yeah, that would be nice. I got a go Jane go. See Jane go. That's not true, Deb. I've heard those jokes my entire life. I actually have some vintage pages out of an old Dick and Jane book on my refrigerator. So yeah. But you know what? People mispronounce my name all the time. Like when we went on vacation, and I'm the one who made the reservation for the hotel, so the reservation was under my name. And we get to the hotel and the guy's looking it up. He said, you know, what's the last name? We said Font, and he's all, for Janae. Like, yeah, I get called Janae, Jan, Janet, everything. People, I don't know if people think, oh, well, it can't be just Jane. It's got to be a little bit more, there's got to be something fancier with it. So, yeah. Oh, welcome back, Vince. Okay. We've been going for 2 hours already. Now we gotta do the tabletop. I kind of want to do the tabletop really fast. And there's a couple reasons for that. So first of all, I want to do the tabletop fast because I'm really tired and I don't want to paint all day long. But also because the tabletop is not the focus of my painting. The focus of my painting is really going to be the vase with the flowers. And I want the flowers to be quite simple as well, but we'll deal with that when we get to it. So the more detail you put into something, the more it's going to draw attention. If I don't want people necessarily to look at the table, I just want the table to be there to support the vase. And I need the shadow on the table to say that the vase has mass. Notice how flat the bottom of this vase looks right now. Part of it's because I didn't do anything with the edge of it, but it's also really flat looking because the table is very solid colored right here. So I have to have a shadow there on the table to give the vase mass. So that's really all I'm gonna do, is give the vase mass by adding a shadow. So I need more ultramarine. Does that make sense? If you guys don't understand that, yell at me and tell me. Because to me that makes total sense, but like I said, my brain isn't exactly switched on today. I think I'm gonna stick with, no, I have not used my 5/8 inch yet. Let's use the 5/8 inch since the table's a little bit bigger. It doesn't really have any delicate shapes in it like the vase does. So some water. I'm gonna go quite dark here, so just a little bit of orange. mostly blue. The orange is just really there to tone down the blue. And I just startled myself, you guys. I don't really want to admit that, but I just startled myself. So I've got the video playing on my computer. I can see it out of the corner of my eye, and there's a delay. And in the video, I reached my arms into the camera, and I saw that out of the corner of my eye, and I almost went, So I'm gonna use the chisel edge of my brush. Good heavens, I love this brush. I'm gonna let it overlap the bottom of my vase a bit. It's okay if you can't see where the bottom of your vase sits. You don't have to. Your brain knows where it is. Your brain can see the curve right here, and it follows that curve, and it says, oh, the vase ends right here. So even over here, and we kind of talked about this in September. What painting was it? There was a painting we did specifically where, oh, I think it was the cherries. So it doesn't matter if you can't see where these cherries touch, if you can't tell which cherry is which when they touch, because your brain knows the difference. And if you try and make it obvious where this vase ends and the table begins, you might end up making it look flat. So see, you can no longer see the bottom of this vase from here to here, but your brain knows where it is, and it's okay with not being able to see that. It can still determine the shape of the vase. Let's go a little bit lighter and just kind of start. Whoa, that's a little on the orange side. I don't want that much orange there. I'm just doing this really loose. It doesn't even have to be a beautiful blend. We just needed that shadow there. Perfect. Yep, that's what I want. Okay, I'm just gonna throw a hint more blue in there, some more white. And just so there's no weird place where it starts and okay. Okay, so see now how, because we put a shadow on the table, the vase has more mass. The vase appears to not be flat. It looked like a flat piece of paper before we added that. And now it's got a little bit of heft to it. All right, let's see. I think the tabletop is done. I think we are about ready to add some flowers. Oh, I just realized that one of the brushes that I want to use kind of gives away a little bit of what I was talking about that everybody would know about in September. But not really, but just kind of. But I just thought I'd throw that out there so you guys could be like, oh, what does that mean? This one. Okay, so I am gonna use, why does Vince have blow darts? Is he gonna shoot me with a blow dart? Because I don't think I'm gonna enjoy that. Why are we talking about Vince with blow darts? Don't use a fan brush now, Tan says. Oh, poor Tan, but your painting looks so good with the fan brush. So tomorrow, I promise we're gonna go over, Tan, were you here earlier when I told everyone that I just ordered this exact same fan brush? This is the fan brush that I used in the last couple of videos where we used fan brush. It's a sample that I got from my manufacturer, and I just put in an order for this. This is a really nice fan brush. It's very, very dense, so it holds paint really nicely and deposits it really nicely without getting too much patterning. So, okay. Now, what we're gonna do is we are gonna go to this brush. And this is a sample. Remember, I think I told you guys that my manufacturer also makes the Dynasty brushes. So he sent me this brush just as an example of what a rigger is. So this is a rigger liner, and I actually really like it. So we are pretty soon, we're gonna have a rigger liner like this one. Well, it'll be totally different material. I might ask him to make it longer. I feel like I'd like it better if it were just a tiny bit longer. But anyway, so I'm gonna start really simple with, see how nice and long, it's almost like a mix between a round brush and a long liner. So if you ever see those guys who do like the pinstriping, they do the super delicate shapes and the fatter areas, you can do that with this. It's really cool. So I'm gonna start super simple on, my black is drying out because it's been sitting on my plate for like 2 hours. Really simple on the flowers, and we'll see what happens. This is quite possibly where I ruin the whole thing, but am I worried about that? Absolutely not. I mean, that would suck because then we'd be done. I'd be like, sorry guys, I ruined it. But I really do want to revisit this, so I might have to stand up for this part. I have such a hard time painting sitting down. Okay, I'm gonna come from the opening of my jar, and again, I'm not gonna press my brush flat. First of all, I'm gonna get a much wider line, but also I'm gonna just deposit all of my paint. So I'm gonna start with just kind of a small one. We'll start here and kind of come out here. Just start with something like that. Let's just fix up this little bit here. I have a smaller rigger too. Maybe I should, let's see. Let's take a piece from here. What do you guys think? Did I mess it up? The rigger brush, Deb, she said that brush is gonna be a must-have for me. I'm assuming she means this one. And it is a pretty awesome brush. I am really, really enjoying it. Let's see, what kind of, so these little guys are just a way to kind of get me started. I'm not gonna just put that and be like, oh, there's our plants in our vase. I'm gonna take a piece from here and put a little extra pressure on it. See how graceful you can get these lines? It's so awesome. Just gonna kind of mess with some different shapes. Pretty sure I don't like the vast majority of these, but I'm gonna hit on one that I do like, you know? All of a sudden I'm gonna be like, oh, that's the one I like. And since I already know that I don't like where I put my vase, then it doesn't matter. I can just come through here and experiment and see what happens with all the types of different shapes and sizes of plants and colors even, and just totally make a mess of this and destroy it, because I will end up finding the one that I like, and then I can start over and I can do that as well as move my vase. Let's see, I'm gonna experiment with some little flowers. Yeah, I don't know. What do you guys think? Give me some ideas with these plants and leaves and stuff. And look, I made a leaf with this rigger. Such a lovely brush. Let's see. Okay, you guys, give me some ideas. A tulip? I don't tulip well. That's one, I know I don't tulip well. Whenever I paint a tulip, it looks like a kindergartner painted a tulip. Why do you guys think I've never done a tulip painting before? I don't know what it is about the shape of a tulip, but yeah. It looks like two hands going like this when I paint a tulip. If I try and do several, it looks like two hands going like this side by side by side. A daisy. Thistly. I do like thistles. That also reminds me of what's going to happen in September. I know I should shut up right now, shouldn't I? Let's do like a little one. Let's see what happens. September? August, right? I told you August. I think I told you August. That's what I'm hoping for. Should probably use like a liner or something for these little tiny things. It's a little difficult with this longer brush, but that's okay. Because we're just experimenting with shapes right now. I'm not worried about getting a perfect anything. I kind of like that little thistle. We'll just match it up with this stem for now. Oh, I'm sorry, you guys. You couldn't see that. Oh, because it's behind my stupid head, huh? Here. And now you've got a big old glare on it. Let's move you down here. Move me down there. Maybe I should turn off this light. I don't want it to be too dark. The glare disappeared from everywhere except for the little flower. I'll do another one. Okay, let's do another one like right here. So I'm just gonna kind of do a little oval. And can you see a little bit? I'm trying to make sure you can see and not block it. Let's turn this. Okay, there. I'll just kind of flick some little bits out, making sure they kind of go in different directions. Some kind of go up and that way, and some kind of go down and out. This one looks totally different than that last one. And then we'll just break up the top with some little spiky bits. That one kind of looks like a spider, and I'm not really happy about that. Let's see, maybe if we kind of puff it out a bit there. I'm gonna bring this up a little taller. No, that looks more like a spider, doesn't it? Oh my gosh, you guys. That's really gross. I really don't like that. All right, well, if I end up doing thistles, I have to practice them until I can do them without making them look like disgusting, disgusting spiders. Let's give it a stem. Maybe then it won't look like a spider. Oh, that's better, isn't it? It still kind of looks like a spider, but not as bad. All right. So I think, let's see. I really, really love the colors that we have going on in here. So thank you for suggesting that, Atra, even though I ended up picking yours like third. I apologize for being a jerk on that. And I can see that if I could actually see what I was doing, not painting on a table. If I was painting on my easel and had a little bit of planning time as well as painting time, I think that this would be a really awesome painting. The flowers are definitely something that I'd want to work on more, and I wouldn't just leave them in black silhouettes. The reason I went with black silhouettes in the first place was just because, I have no idea what type of shapes or, hiccups, stems or any of that stuff. So I just wanted to put them in there in black so I could mess with shapes and everything. Once I'm done with that, then I can move on to colors and try and decide, do I want to keep the stems and everything in the same color scheme? And I think I would. What I think I'd end up doing is probably lean them much more heavily toward the orange side, at least for the base, and then I can add some highlights and everything. And then from here, I would decide about the colors on any flowers. That would be kind of a hard one because I think white flowers would look really nice, but in areas like right here, my background is so pale that white flowers wouldn't be different enough in value. They would really kind of just blend in and disappear. And so we have to have some contrast there, whether that's contrast in value, so how light or how dark, whether it's contrast in hue. So, if, let's pretend the background here is orange. If I take blue, even if it's the same value, it's gonna have some contrast and it'll be more visible. So whatever it is, it would have to have contrast. These flowers are something I really wanna mess with. I feel like that's the part where my planning would take the longest amount of time, is how I would want to do those flowers. I also have some ideas for the tabletop. That tabletop would be totally different than what I have going on there now. But I'm really liking what we're doing here. Let's see. Deb said that it looks like a thistle to her. As long as it doesn't have eyes, we're okay. I agree. You know what? I really like that idea of going with the orange. Heavier on the orange there. Ooh, Atra has an idea. She's gonna try and paint tonight. Let me do that real quick. I am gonna try. It's still, of course, gonna have the blue in it. I'm really not gonna use any of these colors without the others, but I want it to lean very heavily on the side of orange because I don't have anything that does. I have an area in my painting that leans very heavily to the side of blue, with our shadow, but I don't have anything that leans to the orange. So let's do that real quick. Let's just see what happens with one of these little thistles. I'm just gonna kind of tap some of this orange in there. And of course, we don't want it to be monochromatic and, just like an orange silhouette. And I'm doing this so super loosely. I'm really just kind of testing the color. You don't have to put 100% into every brush stroke that you make, you guys. Especially if you're just testing out your colors or whatever. Why put 110% into the energy of those brush strokes? I don't care what this looks like right now. I just want to see how that color looks. That's it. I'm going to throw a little more blue in there because I do want to, like I said, get a little bit of variation, a little bit of some shadow. So let's do that here. We'll flick some of these little bits over the top. People like to blast up and down this road with their stupid loud trucks, and I really hate it. Because of course they always do it while I'm, while I'm working. You guys have no idea how many times I'm recording and I stop in the middle of a sentence. I'll be talking and like painting and I hear a loud truck coming and I just freeze. And I'll sit there like this and just freeze till it's gone. And then just continue with my sentence. And sometimes I will get stopped in the middle of a word. All right, let's grab a little bit of white. Get some much lighter colors. So if you ever notice that like I'm mid brush stroke, mid sentence, and all of a sudden it looks like there was a cut, it's quite possible it's because a car was just going by really, really loud. A little bit of a lighter color, and I would definitely not use my rigger for this part. Like I said, I'm just kind of testing out colors, seeing what color combinations pop, if any, if it looks nice and realistic and bright one way or the other way. I'll take a picture of this too. You guys really can't see. I don't know, it looks really glary and smeary. It's like I've been handling the lens of my camera and everything's so hot. I like the orange, but I don't care for the way that I shaded it or highlighted it. But, ooh, here's an idea. Yeah, you guys are really seeing my whole thought process. Okay, so this is a limited palette painting, right? And sometimes it's hard to tell the viewer, hey, look over here in a limited palette painting. Even if we have great contrast, like we've got some contrast going on with these flowers here, it can be really difficult to kind of tell the viewer, hey, right here, look right here. They might want to look right here instead because there's quite a bit of contrast there. They might be really intrigued with the mottled color in the background. So one way that we can tell our, hang on one sec, there we go. Is that too dark? I just had to get rid of all that glare. It is kind of dark. Anyway, one way we can tell people where to look is by using a pop color. So you can still have a monochromatic painting, but have a color accent. And I think that that's what I would want to do. So what I'm thinking is in the little thistles here, I like the base color of the orange with the little bit of the darker color with the blue for some of the shadows. However, instead of white, it's kind of boring. I think it's boring for a highlight color there. I'd probably try both and see what I like best. Some cadmium yellow medium, a nice bright, because this is all very muted. It's very subtle, it's very gray, and a hot pop of yellow in there might really be eye-catching. It might be too eye-catching. So another color that I'm thinking I would, I have another one. Two other colors I would experiment with. One would be the cadmium red medium, But I feel like that would be just too hot. I think that that would catch too much attention. So what I'm thinking I might really like to see in there is deep violet. Just a little bit of kind of a bright, happy purple that's not too intense. Of course, I would not just have it right here. I would probably spread it to a couple other areas because that purple would be really interesting and eye-catching. And if we only have it here, that's really going to be the most interesting part of the painting and nobody's going to look anywhere else. But if we kind of scatter it in little bits throughout, that's going to help take our viewer's eye from one side of the painting to the other. So I think that that is probably what I'm going to experiment with. Let me see what you guys have to say. I am really enjoying this. I think I'm certainly going to mess with this and see if I can develop it into a tutorial. Let's see. Yeah, Eileen said, I love how it brings your eye to the orange in the vase. Yeah, it really does, because there's no, it's just like, you know, down here in the shadow where we've got, I know you guys can't really tell, we've got a lot more blue in the tabletop and in the shadow here, and that makes you a little bit more aware of the blue in the background. Likewise, the brighter, more saturated orange here makes you more aware of the orange in the vase. And Mr. Jane is texting me now. Okay. Sorry, guys. So yeah, that's a really good observation. Eileen's calling Vince Kevin now. Okay. And Deb's calling him Bob. Okay. So now I do want some really sharp spots of white in there somewhere, but I didn't like it right here. And the reason I'm gonna want some bright shots of white somewhere in these flowers is because they're gonna mirror the bright shots of white in the vase, which now that I look at it, I feel like this vase could use a lot more highlights. It could be brighter in the bright area. I like how dark it is here, but this all could be brighter. But anyway, and that kind of mirrors those, so we'd have the white in here, which would reflect this, and it would cause us to look at both. Any purple I put in here would be very subtle. I know some of you are probably like, purple. But I'm not talking about like big blobs of like purple. It would be like purple. So if that makes sense. So, and yeah, it wouldn't be like in your face purple, but yeah, I really like this. I really, really like it. And I really want to mess with it and see what we can do. And it really doesn't look like my still life video at all. My still life video idea that I had. So that's okay. That's good. I'm happy with that. So guys, tell me what you, like where you would go from here. If you're painting this, where do you take it next? What ideas would you have about it? Also, what I want to know is, do you think that do you think that kind of getting to see my active and my live planning process, and that it's not about sitting down and going, ta-da! Look at this amazing painting I just knocked out. That's not what art is about. Is that helpful to you? Or is it, seriously, man, I think I might have in fact left my brain at home. Is it disheartening to you to see somebody who's been painting for a while, you know, still have to go through practice and planning phases? I really want to know what's helpful to you guys. Tan sees two faces on the wall. Oh my gosh, I can see him too now, Tan, that you say that. How weird. Like right here, let me get over to my, like right here, right? Like the eyes and the nose, mouth, cheek. And then another one here, like a larger one, forehead, eye, nose, almost like a mustache or something, cheek. Is that what you're talking about too? That's crazy. Now I can't unsee it. Eileen said way beyond helpful. Good. Good, good, good. That is exactly why I want to do these. Not to be like, hey guys, come watch how cool I am. Because you guys are going to watch me paint live and you're going to be like, she is not as cool as I was thinking. Good, good, good. I'm so glad to hear that it's been helpful for you guys. I will, I would really like to see what you guys do with the information that I gave you here today, genuinely. So what I'll do is I'll take a picture of this and I will post it in the Facebook page. Would you guys rather that I make the post in the Facebook group or in Patreon? It's hard because in Patreon you can't add photo comments, I don't think. Tell me what you would like. Because I'm not that cool. It's true, Eileen. It really is true. No, Tan says, can we only use these two colors for this painting? Can we use another color for the flowers? You guys, you take all of the information that I gave you or whatever you want to focus on and do it however you want. I'm not asking you to recreate this exact thing. There will be time for that. I really do want to develop this into an actual painting. You do what you want to do. Use the colors you want to see. Choose the pieces of information that were important to you and focus on those. But what I really want to see is you taking any kind of a lesson from this video, whatever it was, even if it didn't come out of the painting, if it just came from a rant or something, I want you to take the most valuable piece of information that you got out of this and use it. And I want to see evidence of that use. That's what I'm looking for. If you want to completely copy the image that I did here, please do better flowers than I did. Spend a little time practicing flowers. That's perfectly fine. That's perfectly fine too. I just want to see evidence that you learned something, and I'm curious to see what it is that you may have learned. Do it however it is easier and most beneficial for you. Exactly, Eileen. You know, if I were to tell you, no, I want you to do it just like this, well, that might go against whatever it is that you want to focus on. So, no, do what you need to do. Guys, if you have any other questions, any other little, let's say, I was going to say demos, but I know everybody's going to say fan brush, so just be in the viewing party tomorrow. Yeah, whatever. I'll hang out until you guys tell me that you're done with me. Oh, you meant for me. Do it however, I always do. I only do things that are the most beneficial for me. Just kidding. Nobody has anything? Emmy said, this type of lesson is just the best. Thank you. Hearing your thoughts about what you're doing is a great tool for us to learn. Thank you, Emmy. That means a lot to me. Oh, where to post the thing. I like the idea of posting it in Facebook because then you guys can post photo comments, but how about we do this? I'm going to post it in Patreon, and then you guys can post into the Facebook group or into Patreon on the community page. Post wherever you like. I'll leave some instructions in there and in the post. because yeah, I want to see what you do. I want to see what you do. So show us your April challenge painting. Oh man, I totally forgot about it. I was so busy getting ready for vacation, and then I haven't slept much since vacation. I totally forgot. I only have a few more days to get going on that, don't I? Yeah, I need to do that. Good. Thank you, Aileen. That means a lot to me. Thank you. Okay, guys, well, I'm gonna go then, and I will get a photo of this and get it posted into Patreon, and I'll start thinking about a song title that I can do for my April challenge. And then I hope to see all of you, plus some, tomorrow at the viewing party. Friends, you know we're gonna do some fan brush demos, right? Yeah, we're gonna do some fan brush demos. Oh, you've done yours but need my advice? Did you post it somewhere, Tan? Because I will gladly look at it. All right, folks, I am going to sign off, and I will see you all tomorrow. And I have had a wonderful time painting with you today, and I really, really love this whole idea that came out of our time together today. So I think that probably in the next week or two, it might not be next week, it might be another week. But yeah, I think we can expect to see some kind of a version of this in an upcoming tutorial. So I will see you guys tomorrow. Whoops, that was the wrong button. There we go. And we'll take that off. Okay, bye guys.